Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the Discover Your Life podcast. I'm so excited to be here with you, your host, Razia Hamidi. And alhamdulillah, we've been bringing back the podcast slowly, but with really meaningful guests and conversations that I know you want to hear more and more of. And so, alhamdulillah, one of those conversations that does never gets old and we come at from all the different angles is parenting. So I'm really excited to have Maysa Pahua with me today. She's an Aussie, but alhamdulillah, not all the way in Australia right now. She's somewhere in the middle. So welcome, Maysa.
Salam alaikum. Thank you so much for having me.
Alhamdulillah, I'm so excited to have you here. I've been following you for a while. We love your content, and you have such a fresh perspective when it comes to parenting. And, mashallah, I do want to introduce our audience properly to you. So if you're not already following Mesa, we will share her Instagram handles, inshallah, in the description. But she is a parenting coach, an educator, and the most important part, a mother of four, mashallah, with over 20 years experience helping families navigate the messy, the beautiful reality of raising children. And mashallah, she's known for her grounded, emotionally intelligent approach. She combines research-based tools with practical real-life strategies and that actually work. And I love that part, Mesa, because sometimes you have people on here who are sharing theories, and it's not really something that you can implement. And you're like, how does that, when my child's doing the tantrum, how do I approach that gentle parenting thing that they're sharing? And, it just seems so out there. So I really appreciate your approach. And I think that's what really attracted me to your work, that, mashallah, you're definitely giving practical tools for parents. Alhamdulillah. So to
Um,
kick things off, Mesa, and there's so many like questions I know that I want to have for this conversation, but I think most importantly, where I'd love to start off, what sparked your passion for going into this work? Why did you what was your journey initially in getting into parenting coaching? And, was there a unique story around it or a pivotal point that you were like, I know this is something that is my calling?
yeah, so I never dreamed that I'd be a parent coach. I studied, went to university, and I became a primary school teacher.
Yeah.
So I had my bachelor's in education, and I thought I am good to go. And then I became a mum. So after working in the teaching world for a little bit, my first child came along. And I thought, wow, this is not how I expected. He was a very determined little boy, and it threw me into this world of what I thought parenting would be, and I thought motherhood would come naturally to me. It just wasn't working. I became stricter, angrier, more controlling. I would, run by the clock and have no flexibility. And it wasn't until, my oldest was, say, 8 years old that I thought, yeah, this is not working, because he one day looked at me and he said, "You always complain that I'm not listening to you, but
Mm.
you never listen to me." And it was just a really aha moment, because I thought to myself, it's true. If I'm not commanding or demanding, I'm complaining.
Mm.
And there was no point that I was actually connecting with these kids, even though all the, studies that I'd done, all the psychology behind children's development that I've done in my university was telling me to do that. And so fast forward a few bits and pieces here and there, and I stumbled upon life coaching, and then I stumbled upon temperaments, and I started to understand that you can't parent every child the same. And so began my journey about a decade ago, and I started to learn about temperaments. I started to understand that there are things that kids scientifically and biologically can and can't do. And there are things from my childhood that I'm bringing into the picture that kids have no business being a part of.
Yeah.
And so I started to practice these skills and tools and courses that I was taking. I'd gather all of the nannies in the park, and we'd sit together, and I'd be like, let's try this. And, we tried it and it would work, because exactly what you said before, sometimes the actual strategy doesn't work.
Cool.
And yes, over a decade later, here I am helping parents all around the world.
Mashallah. And I love that you highlighted the temperament of your oldest, because I know this is something you speak a lot about and something a lot of parents struggle with, which is a strong willed child,
Mm.
which I have one of, and, I remind myself too, actually, and I remind my husband often, I'm like, "This is, like, their strength, and we want to nurture this," but, doing like, obviously, in this phase where they're children and they don't fully grasp, where their limits are,
Mm,
um, what would
mm.
like, so how has that journey now I'm guessing your oldest, your strong-willed child, mashallah, he's come a long way. What has been some
Yeah.
profound lessons that you have learned about yourself in that journey?
Yeah, so he is 20 now, and
No
he can
way.
definitely tell me, yes. And Allah gave me a second chance to try because my fourth child is just a replica of my eldest.
For sure.
So, I've got this opportunity, to try these skills and strategies. But I think the strong-willed child is a really misunderstood child. And somehow I've become like a spokesperson for this child, even though I was not a strong-willed child growing up. And it doesn't matter. If you are a strong willed adult, it doesn't mean you will necessarily get along with the strong willed child. So there are no equations to this. It's simply put, a child that is strong willed is somebody who knows their core values. They know it so well, but mix it with immaturity and the fact they're 5 years old and can't say, "Hey, mum, I'm feeling really jealous because you gave my sister more attention." So instead, they'll push, pull, not listen. And that immaturity comes out in behavior that we don't like. And so when you have this all happening in a household, it's bound for a lot of, tension. And I realized that this particular kid is only interested in relationship. They just need help in using the right way to express themselves. Because let me tell you something about the strong willed child. There is plenty of positives about them. We just don't talk about them because they're so in our face, they're so intense.
Yeah,
But we don't discuss the fact that I never have to worry about peer pressure with my child ever.
yeah.
He'll be the leader in the actual thing. I never have to worry about the fact that, his creativity is just in exponential levels. And he speaks the truth, even when it hurts, even when we don't like it. I know that he's speaking truth. And so, with these positives, I began to explain to parents that there's a different way. There's just a different way to parent this kid.
Mm.
So, to answer your question, I developed this particular program that I run based on these 5 fundamental truths of this child. And if you do not accept these truths, you will have a hard time. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like a pledge.
Yeah.
You have to accept these 5 things, and you have to understand that this child is never going to change,
Mm.
ever. They're never going to bow down and say, "Wow, mum, thank you so much for that boundary. I really feel safe right now."
What every parent
You're
craves.
laughing. You have one.
SubhanAllah. That's beautiful.
Subhanallah, yes.
One thing I really appreciate, Maisa, at the way that you approach the parenting conversation is with recognizing the blessing that it is. I think too often there's a lot of like undertones of negative sentiments in the way people talk about the parenting journey or what the child needs, and it's almost like this daunting chore. And even when I feel like I hear sometimes some of the experts in the field talk about like, hey, here's the tools, it's still done from this like annoyance, like, oh, of course your child does this, and of course, like, how do you deal with that? And rarely, and especially like obviously as believers, alhamdulillah, right, like, the word that Allah uses in the Quran for children is gift, and like recognizing these beautiful gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. And yes, they challenge, and there's so many things around that, but you never lose sight of just the blessing that it is
Mm,
itself.
mm, mm,
Is this something you notice that's like, and I don't know if it's a
mm,
North American thing, but I do
mm,
notice a tendency for people to fall into this like negative um mindset maybe, or negative just like sentiments about parenting and about the parent child relationship and annoyance. And how do you cultivate more positivity in how you're viewing that relationship regardless of the challenges that you're having?
Yeah, love this topic. Love it. As you're asking it, it's just coming to me about how much when I work with Muslim parents, I'm here to remind them that parents are asked about their parenting before the child is asked
Mhm.
about how were you as a child. We have the responsibility. And the same way that um, a child wasn't asked, they didn't ask to be born, frankly. We have to accept certain truths. We have to take responsibility and come out of this victim mindset mentality of, oh, my child is ruining my life. We can break that sentence down into my child is giving me a hard time or today didn't go the way I wanted. We can do all those reframes. But there is a huge amount of parents out there that are determined to kind of, put all the fault on the child and look at how much I do for you and look at how much I provide. No, no, guys, these are fundamentals. Your child deserves and is entitled actually to the fundamentals of protection, care, love, food, shelter. This is baseline.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening, especially with these strong-willed kids that I'm talking about, they don't want to be owed anything. They don't want to owe you and they don't want to feel like you owe them. And so this is where the clash happens. And so, another part of your question is I think that when we're parenting, we're often parenting from the past or the future.
Mm.
So I'll give parents some examples. Your 5-year-old's having a tantrum. Your brain, my brain, might go, oh, this again, this always happens. I'm so tired of it. I never get to rest. When is it my turn to rest?
Mm.
And so we've automatically gone into our own mind about our past or future. Or we've gone, if this was me when I was 5 years old, my parents would have XYZ. I wouldn't have dared to have a tantrum, some parents might say. And so in both of these examples, they are not in the present moment. And if there's anything we take away from today's chat, I really want to drive home the fact that you've got to parent the child in front of you, not the child you wish you had.
Mm.
So if your 5-year-old's having a tantrum, focus on today, Thursday, whatever day it is, today. What is that tantrum about? It's not about you. It's about the banana that you cut wrong or the fact that the brother hit him or the fact that he wants more screen time. And in our, culture and religion, we have a very fast way of, how can I say this? We're really good at saying, oh, our parents did the best they could with what they had. And, we give a lot of respect to our parents. And I love that. That's definitely part of our din. But I want parents to also remember that you are also doing the best you can with what you know.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If we knew more, we'd do better. And this is what we're able to do.
I love that. Alhamdulillah. I love that being parenting the child that's in front of you and not the past or, future version you're hoping they'll grow into. That's really grounding, subhanAllah. So it's amazing you have a 20-year-old. So Mesa, the big kind of theme we wanted this conversation today to be around because it is something that I hear and we recently had a webinar and it was like the overarching pain point for everyone, which is am not connecting with my child. My teen just, does not want to sit there. I don't know how to connect. I think there's that component. I don't know how to connect. We're not connecting, and my teen just does not want to spend time. So I know teenagehood is one thing, but it's like the groundwork to lay down before that even happens. And so at Discovery, like one of our, principles is very much about preventative. And so we have like our parenting course, The Art of Raising Muslims, and it's really about like laying that foundation and doing that groundwork for it. So what do you feel like is missing in this conversation? And I guess the climate we're in, like obviously digital devices comes into this, but what do you think has gotten to this point? Like, do you think this is a new phenomena of, parents struggling to have connection? Like the dynamic, the cultures at home that have changed compared to, 20 years ago where it was everyone sat around the one TV or, like there was
Yeah.
this idea of just maybe being outdoors more. Like how did we get here?
Yeah. Yeah, look, things can be really nuanced in this conversation. So let's try to keep it, as broad as possible, using some common sense. Obviously, red flags are red flags, and, abusive and emotionally immature parents are one topic. But in general, if we're just going to take like a blanket kind of effect, children are the same as they have been for millions of years. Children's needs have not changed. They haven't even evolved. Children still need the same things in the right phases, subhanAllah. If you have spent the first 14 years of your child's life being busy, and no judgment, no judgment, because it happens. It's not the end of the world. It's not too late. You're not going to lose your child. But I'm here to say that your 14-year-old isn't going to be like, wow, I'm going to spend time with mum, because of development. So if we just start with teens first, parents need to remember that it is natural. It is healthy. I give you 2 thumbs up if you tell me your 14-year-old does not want to hang out with you. Healthy. Why? Because their brains have started to wire up to go, wow, there is a world out there that doesn't just involve mum and dad. Now, where problems lie, and subhanAllah, in our religion, we're taught this all the time, is extremities, right? We want to always remember balance, moderation, right in that center field. But when something's too extreme, like your child is never wanting to talk to you, hang out with you, leave the room, these really big red flags, that's when you need to come to me and we need to discuss. We need to work out, because no child wakes up. And I'm going to touch on some sensitive topics. So, if anybody feels like something's coming up for them, please reach out for professional help. But no child wakes up and suddenly wants to run away from home. No child wakes up and suddenly wants to not talk to their parents, become, violent. So there is evidences that is happening throughout the child's day and life, and parents need to pick up on that. So that's kind of the teenage world. Let's touch on devices for a little bit. Am I good with sound?
Yeah, I was just my team is saying there was just a little background noise. I wasn't sure if it was my laptop fan. I'm like, want to make sure it's not
Ah,
affecting when you're speaking.
this is perfect segue into tech world, because I want to remind parents that technology is not the problem. Look at this. Look what we're able to do. Like, alhamdulillah, it's a ni'mah when used properly, just like every other powerful thing. Cars can be used badly, so can knives, so can cooktops, so on and so forth. So technology devices are not the enemy. There's this really famous quote. I've got to get it down pat. I want to send it to you. But in the 1980s, no, I don't know what decade it was, but somebody stood up in the British court and said, if we bring in calculators, that is the end of our children's brains, right? Every era is afraid of the new technology coming up. And I'm with you. I'm dead set worried about AI, and I know how much bad can come out of it. So we've got to differentiate between the two things of being true at the same time. Yes, new technology is scary because it's unknown and we're venturing into this world that's very different. Agree with you. But our parents, every generation had something unknown and venturing into a world that's very different. The thing that parents get stuck in is the fact that you can't replicate your childhood in 2025. Because frankly speaking, what trees can children climb? We're all living in cosmopolitan suburbia. I know I'm in Dubai, so it's 50 degrees every day. What creek? What bicycles can we ride? I know in Australia, crime rate is just increasing, so nobody feels safe for their kid to ride around. And I know we did. Frankly, it was a miracle and a little bit irresponsible, but hey, we did it. And so if we're continuously going, oh, I really hate my kids can't ride around the block, then you're not living in the present moment. And we're going back to that previous question. And then on a final note to your question of like, how do we connect? Like, what do we do? The key here at whatever age we're talking about, and 10 and under is definitely easier. Not gonna lie, they still light up when mum or dad walk into the room. I've got an 8-year-old. It's my last one. He's definitely excited to see me. So connection is about inner world. I want parents to remember. Connection is not about you going, hey, let's go to Disneyland. Great, but it's not what a kid actually wants. Connection is circling back to the child's inner world. Hey, how's your friend's new kitten that they got? Hey, can you tell me a bit about Minecraft? Like, how do you win in the game? And so on and so forth. And now, as we do that and we delve into a child's inner world, we're no longer stuck in this title of being a mum and commanding and demanding. Put on your shoes, sit down, 5 more bites. How many times do I need to tell you? We're now starting to connect with the child about something that is real and stimulating.
Yeah. I love that, letting them, at times, like, obviously guide the conversation. I feel like sometimes in the hurry of things, parents can be dismissive, and that
Mhm.
kind of rejection can obviously register over time, right? If I'm constantly bringing something up and my parents are not responding or they're not interested, even a child, I'm sure, is registering that somewhere and isn't going to keep bringing it up. They're being conditioned to know, if I've got something,
Mhm.
I either just go, do my own thing, or mom and dad are not going to have
Yeah.
time to listen. So I love that, practical component,
Yeah.
being curious and paying attention to those
Mhm.
little random facts or, stories that they sometimes bring up, and, how do you lean into that?
Yeah, exactly. Just on that note, really quickly, a lot of children also veer into this phenomena. I call it a phenomena because children are just funny creatures. They have this really interesting way of going, right. So when I hit my brother, I get a 25-minute lesson on how hitting is wrong. And my mum sits down and she's got 25 minutes up her sleeve to give me a lecture. But when I do the right thing, I get a 3-second, good job, walk off. So what I'm going to do, the child says, is I'm just going to try to find the ways that gives me the most attention.
Wow.
And that is how bad behavior, misbehavior continues, because the intensity that the parent is paying towards this behavior is currency for this child, because children can't differentiate between, well, I think my mom's having a hard day today, so I'm just going to be back off a bit. And that is exactly what you were just talking about, which is the connection. We want to pay more attention to the connection. And I don't mean 2 hours of playing dress ups with your 4-year-old. Guys, don't go there. Remember the extreme kind of thing we were just talking about? No, I mean, some people can do 2 hours, but children don't want 2 hours. They prefer 10 minutes of solid quality time than this fluffy, 1 hour.
Yeah. I love that. Can you actually speak to that for a second, Mesa? Because I feel like a lot of the younger parents, it's saying 10 minutes of quality, just engaging, like on the ground, playing with them, and not having to, drag it out because obviously capacity people. What are some things that you would give as like practical tools for really being present and engaging, with your child in that way? Like, I guess, laying that foundation for inshallah connection that
Yeah.
keeps, getting fostered. And I also, I love that point you mentioned of, the child registers that my currency is, if I'm behaving badly, I'm gonna get more attention. Like, that's so big,
Mm.
subhanallah.
Yeah. So it really is. It's fascinating because, side note, before I answer your question, adults do the same thing, right? Like, we're all human. And if you're constantly badgering your partner about taking out the bins, I know we're venturing into another topic, but this is all relationship, right? Then your partner's going to zone out most times because they've got their own thing that they're dealing with, right? Again, we're talking common sense here, not abusive relationships and all that
Yep.
stuff. So, same thing with your child. If you're constantly going, hurry up, pick up your shoes, pick up your shoes, pick up your shoes, no kid is going to be like, oh, no, I better pick up my shoes. Children's brains are wired to go, I am involved in my world right now where I am doing XYZ. So I'm just going to continue doing that. But some practical ideas for connection. So I always start with the parent. I start with the parent because I want parents to understand that your physiological needs have to be adhered to before you can even attempt to do anything. And again, common sense. If your kid is crossing the road, we're not going to go, oh, I don't feel like it. Grab your kid. But if everything is okay, then you need to first check in with yourself. Okay, have you had your coffee? Have you eaten? Have you rested? Have you stopped scrolling before you're going to attempt XYZ? So let's say all of that is in place and you're not doing too bad physiologically. Then the key to connection is doing something that you somewhat enjoy. And this is where parents need to learn, what is their version of play? What do they like to play with? Not everybody is a wrestler. Not every parent likes to do puzzles. Not every parent, wants to play dolls. And believe me, your child will follow suit. Even if they've said to you, come and play dolls with me, and you're not a doll player, come up with something else. Sincerity goes a long way because parents would be like, but Mesa, I do that. And they don't listen. And my answer to that is, all right, how was it delivered? Because I've got parents going, do you want to play dolls?
Well,
And a kid's going to be like, it's like me now talking to you, Razia, and I'm like, yeah,
mm,
yeah.
you
You're
can
not
pick
going to
up
be
on
like, oh, this, you can pick up on it.
that.
So if you want to connect with your child, make sure you've got your tone, your facial expression in place. Make sure you're sincere about wanting to play because parents do this a lot as well. Um, oh, fine, I'll play.
Mm,
And it's like, are you going to play or do you not want to play? Because have that confidence in you. Hey, I'd love to play. I can't now. When it's 6 o'clock and I finish cooking rice, I'm going to come and play.
mm,
And your child still will not go, well, mum, thank you so much for that boundary. You're so good at it. They're not going to do that. They're going to groan. They're going to be like, oh, you never play with me. And you're going to remember me saying to you, good response, healthy response. Because when a child is wanting you, that is healthy. That is not something that is you've done anything wrong about it. And the irony to all of this is I have parents on this side going, when can I get my kid to play alone? And then I've got the teen parents going, but my teen doesn't want to hang out. And I say, this is life's cycle.
mm,
Now you're trying to get this kid back into your life. How do we connect with teens? We have to be more interesting
mm.
than their device. If they're on TikTok and they're getting those dopamine hits and you going in there going, have you done your homework? I mean, I don't know anyone that's going to be like, oh, yay, I'll just get off this amazing app that I'm on.
Yeah.
So instead, the tricks, the cheat sheets for teens is always going to be snacks or food. Lure them out with something yummy. It's going to be something that is not heavy in endurance. Teens' brains are like working overtime. So don't pull them out to give them an Islamic lecture on, adab. We don't want to be just talking to teens in that way. And thirdly, get to know what they like, even if you don't like it. So my nearly 18-year-old daughter, she really loves, makeup and like getting into it and I don't, but I make it an effort to quickly like jump on socials a bit, just see what's in, what trend, because the moment that you show your teen, you're not in the dark. Doesn't mean that I have to like it in the same way, but I'd say something like, oh, did you see this particular blogger? Look what she did. Guess what? You've opened up a conversation and it's not about homework.
Yeah.
And that applies all the way down. And some parents will say to me, but Mesa, I don't even like the fact they're on Minecraft. Well, two things here. Either, get them off Minecraft or accept the fact they're on Minecraft. You can't be hating something that they love that you've handed them
Yeah.
because it's your internet, your iPad, you're paying the bills, and you're just hating on it.
That's so valuable, and I love, I think that's, like, such a beautiful and powerful, simple message of be more interesting than their devices, and I know, like, with my teen niece and nephews, I love cooking with them, and that definitely gets them off their device whenever they're over. It's like, "Yeah, what do you wanna
Mhm.
make? Like, let's make one of the recipes you saw
Yeah.
recently on socials, because 'cause they'll watch the endless videos of food being made, but, they never get the
Yep.
opportunity or perhaps that kind of engagement,
Mhm.
so yeah, I feel like that's such a beautiful framing for the parents to ground themselves in. Like, how can I be more interesting? Because you are competing with it.
Yeah.
But just those two contrasts is so funny. Like, just we know it, but when you just laid it out, that you have the one camp that's like, how do I get them to play on their own? And then, subhanallah, the camp that's like, I miss them. I want my child and I want my teen to connect with me.
Yeah.
What's one of
Exactly.
the like, Mesa, what's one of the trends or conversations that you feel like comes up a lot right now for parents of younger kids when it comes to, like, you mentioned adab, right? Because, again, I'm not, sure about, like, the education system in Australia and Middle East, but more and more in North America now, this schooling is not a place that children are taught values. Like, unfortunately, because of
Yeah.
secularization and obviously the impact that's had, it's just we teach the subjects and that's it. And so mannerisms or values is not part of it necessarily or it done how it used to. So what's the conversation that you see happening a lot around the for parents, like some of the challenges and how are, what are some of the tools and maybe some resources that you're providing or support for parents and how
Mm.
to think differently about this?
Yeah, this is fundamental to brain science. So subhanallah, like our religion is just so tied to science very often. And the brain development of a child does not go like in this idea that we expect. So it's not like a child just suddenly has empathy. A child doesn't just suddenly become grateful because you went and bought them the new iPhone. It just doesn't work like that. These really hard skills, part of adab, part of respect, all the things that we can lay out that we dream of our children having, inshallah, respect and, open the door for the elders and, you know, think about others first and, all those beautiful things. They don't happen overnight. In fact, I know many adults that still lack those skills, unfortunately, right?
So we all
So, exactly. And, and sometimes, and we're not perfect either. I know I fall into forgetting gratefulness sometimes as well. It's just what happens. But because we love our children, we dream of the best for them. We don't want them to suffer. We want them to be these like amazing environmental tree hugging. Let's just throw the phone to the side and hang out. And I'm like, all right, parents, how you doing? Like, when you're hanging out with your friends.
Mm.
And again, I don't want to do stark comparison because we do have more responsibility and all of that stuff, but we can't be expecting these things from children that don't have brain science behind them. And so when it does come to adab, look at yourself first. First and foremost, if you talk the talk, then walk the walk. And I don't mean just for 1 year or 1 week or 2 years. I mean, show your children it's ingrained in you. It's a non negotiable. If you're a disrespectful child, I'm going to stay respectful.
Mm.
And so parents start to confuse this with permissiveness. Oh, but Mesa, I don't want them to walk all over me. And so at no point am I saying if a child says to you, you're so dumb, something really disrespectful. I don't want any parent to go, oh, sweetie, that's okay for you to say that. That's not what we're attempting here at all. We're attempting to show the child, even when you're that way, that's not going to affect me. In fact, I'm going to show you how I want to be treated. So again, age appropriate, use the, right words for the age, but it would sound something like, hey, that I don't accept anyone speaking to me like that. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to cool down. And so what we're doing there is we're allowing their brain to take in some examples of what it sounds like to be respectful. Because when everything's hunky dory, I don't know if you guys say that over in America, but when everything is like all great, it's really easy to be respectful. But then when things get tough, that's when we need to show the child what do we do when things are tough. So we've got adults that have got road rage. We've got people that just don't accept the losing. I've got adults that actually say to me, oh, Mesa, I don't say sorry. I don't say sorry. And so it goes hand in hand with now, okay, let's talk about the adab. So step one, in a nutshell, is you yourself work it out what you want to do. Simultaneously remembering that a child's brain takes many, many years, many continuous and intense repetitions to learn these really deep skills of empathy, and so on. Empathy in and of itself, by the way, is the longest skill it takes to learn because there are many stages of empathy. And so the utmost highest stage, you know, happens over a long time. And so if we keep talking about, what do we want to teach our children, then bringing back to examples is definitely going to help you. I know that we can, talk about the prophets, we can bring in the Sahaba, we can talk about all of the things that have got to do with our din. But if you have a kid, and I'm coming back to temperaments now, and we all have one in the family, that's just a little bit more wayward. They're like, all right, I get we love our prophet, but they can't understand, or maybe they're not relating. Then I suggest to the parent, Think about the temperament and what do they need.
Mm.
I don't want to do a direct, comparison to celebrities, but maybe a soccer player that they love, maybe somebody that they can resonate with, because some children's brains are just not there yet with the culture, with the religion.
Hello.
It's just the brain that hasn't yet caught up with this amazingness that we know about, right? Razia, like we know the beauty of Islam. We've
Mm.
got life experience. We've seen miracles. We've heard of miracles. But to your kid, they didn't get a brand new bag, and that's the end of the world for them.
Yeah.
They don't have that other part to think about.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always say, how's the home environment going? We put so much emphasis on schools, and parents start to, change schools and think about where and how. And of course, schools play a big role. I'm never going to doubt that. But home environment is and always will be key.
Yeah. You touched on a really big point that, just the example you highlighted of a child not getting the bag and the world kind of crumbles apart. And a conversation I have with parents often and that comes up, right, is just how sometimes out of touch our children can be with just
Yeah.
like what the priorities are. And I wonder if, so of course, the school environment, home environment, but oftentimes both of these are reflective of the socioeconomic status that your family's in. So they're only being exposed to that world. Like I remember we had an incident with our oldest is kind of funny, but we adopted our 3 kids last year, and so they were
Mhm.
coming to this new world, and my husband and I, obviously, before the kids, we would travel and a lot of those things, so, he's seen a lot of those pictures and our picture of going to the Kaaba, and so he sat there one day and he's like, "Ugh, I can't believe I haven't been to Mecca yet." And it's like, "Sweetheart, it's not normal for 9-year-olds to go to Mecca." And so, sometimes, I fear that our kids are out of touch with the
Yeah.
privileges that they have. And so,
Mm,
I'm really curious about,
mm,
is there anything about like civic engagement that you encourage parents to have?
yeah.
Like, how do you help your
Mm,
children get outside of their world so they're not so
mhm,
engrossed in it that when they don't get a backpack, like
mm.
they don't lose perspective? And I know like developmentally their brain will slowly,
Yeah.
grow into that. But are there things that parents could do to just help their child build maybe some empathy and exposure to worlds
Mm,
beyond themselves and away from just what they see on the news, obviously, too, like
mhm.
actually giving them real life exposure?
There is definitely ways to teach children empathy, but I first wanna, like, be a bit cheeky and come back a bit to your comment and your example and do a bit of a reframe. We're gonna
Yeah.
do this live together. We haven't got
Love
anything,
it.
like, scripted or anything like that. But let's say that I said to you right now, "Razia, wow, I would love to go. I just haven't had the opportunity to go to Canada." And I just feel like, why? Why is it everybody that I know has been there and I haven't?
No. Like,
What comes up for you when I say that?
I would probably, and I'm speaking to you as an adult, like you're an adult and I'm an
Yeah,
adult.
we're both adults, we're both friends.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
completely like jealous that all my friends have gone to Canada and here I am stuck
yeah.
here.
I'd probably first be like, "Oh, miss, I can see why you'd wanna go, like, there's so many beautiful things there, and, inshallah, like, there's an opportunity for you to one day explore, but, hey, you've had a chance to be in Dubai and a lot of other amazing places, like, what have you taken from that?"
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. I recommend we answer children like that. And you knew it was, I could see your face going, oh.
The
And so
conversation
what
did
we
go
do,
on to dua. I did say, "Make dua,
I get,
inshallah, we'll get to go."
yes. But you see, you didn't say that to me,
Yeah,
right?
but I'm
So
glad we
this
got to
is
do
why
this
we
because parents get to see themselves in that conversation.
and again, it's a little bit cheeky, but the idea here, again, you don't have to treat children like adults, but this is just a quick example of, so you be your son and I'm gonna be mum. And there's no script here, so you can't like copy anything, and I'm not gonna copy anything, but we're just starting off with that, oh mum, I really
Yeah.
like seeing the Kaaba and he's talking to you about
Uh,
it. So go for it.
okay. Oh, I really wish I could go to Cabo. Everyone's been, but, like, I've never been.
I know. What's amazing about the Kaaba that makes you want to go?
Well, I mean, like, it's so beautiful. Prophet Ibrahim went there, and, we're all supposed to go.
That's so true. Look, technically, I don't think everybody is gone, but I get what you mean. A lot of people have gone, and it is actually really beautiful because I went in this year and I can tell you all about it and we can look at some stuff and then we can work out a way of you getting to know more about it. And then inshallah, we'll make dua that you can go.
That would be amazing, Mom. Can you tell me that some special Zamzam things you saw there? And did you drink it every day?
My pleasure. Take a seat. This is my favorite topic in the world. Would you like a 3-point presentation on this? Because I can do that for you.
Mashallah, Besa, that was so good.
So here we are. We need to take a child in. We've got to take the child in front of us in. Let's leave our fear at the door. Your kid knows. They know that they can't go today to Mecca. They know. They're just wishing they could. And when anybody's wishing for anything, the last thing that ever works in their brain is be grateful or even nice things. I don't believe that you or your partner or any of us are rude to our children, but it just doesn't work. So that's where I would start first before teaching privilege or empathy or all of that. First, start with where your child is at the moment. They want the brand new iPhone. Let's go to something really like materialistic, something that boils parents' blood up. Oh, they've got an okay working phone and they want something better. Okay, why? What's going on? Like, what's happened that they want it? And now we delve into stories because they're going to tell you about Sarah at school who bullied them because they've got an old phone. Bang, you got connection.
Yeah.
Or they're going to tell you about how they want to be a photographer or whatever it is. Or maybe it's as shallow as saying, because everybody has one. And then is where we draw a boundary because unlike, talking about Mecca or something that is a little bit far-fetched, the boundary is, yeah, I get it. We're not getting a phone. It's not in my budget at the moment. Um, and like walk off parent. You don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to punish them about it. You can just let them know you're not buying a phone. And then, so they're like practical ideas in the moment things.
Yeah.
But your question also had this other part to it that's beautiful about teaching. And teaching empathy has to start with the child feeling like they're empathized with.
Mhm.
That's it. That's foundation one from like 0 to about 15 years of age.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, the child has to feel it, has to feel like, oh wow, I just felt it. And you could specify it. So there are really cool scripts that I've got on my page. I did a few with my son tonight. We're so lucky to live close to the beach, and we went to the beach, him and I today. And I said, his name's Zaid, and I said, hey Zaid, what puts Zaid in a good mood? And he just kind of looked and he's like, food. And so we went to talk about like regulation and, blood sugars, you see, because that's when you can go into really deep stuff with these kids.
Yeah.
And guess what he said? One of them was he listed these beautiful things, the sunshine, beach, my friends. And then he said video games. And of course, my little heart was like, oh, I failed as a parent. Oh
Mm.
my goodness, all of this stuff was, oh, Malla parent coach. What all these kind of egotistic ideas were going through
Yeah.
my head. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, so it takes a lot for me to, really crumble to ego. But I know a lot of new parents to this would, and they'd be like, what? Video games? No, 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 no. But allow them to have it. I I enjoy watching reels. They're funny.
Mm.
So, that's that. Don't take everything a child says as gospel. Don't take everything a child says as that's it.
Yeah.
Set in stone, they're going to become a video gamer and drop out of school.
Or mine goes the
Pay more
worst case scenario.
attention. Yes, pay more attention to the 17 other things that he said and let go of that.
Yeah.
And so once we start doing that, we can start scripting in some more empathy, some more ideas. Let's quickly touch on entitlement because you said privilege. And I'd love for us all to have ingrained in our beings about how entitlement happens. Entitlement is not going on a holiday every year. That's not entitlement. Entitlement is not, oh, my kids, this is a real story. A parent said to me, my kids experienced business class, Mesa, and they weren't happy about it, like the parent. And I'm like, yeah, but you, you did, like you gave that. So we're going back to that other thing I was speaking about. Like we give the kid the thing and then when we're really upset
Yeah.
about them doing the thing and it's like, wait, you just got them the ticket or the upgrade or whatever. Entitlement happens when we continuously, not just once or twice, but continuously save our children from hard feelings.
Mm.
That's how entitlement happens.
Yeah.
A child is spoiled and their brain becomes very entitled when continuously in their childhood, the parent has saved them. And I don't always mean nicely either. So sometimes a child will forget their homework at home and the parent will send the homework, but they'll also be like, they should have just told you to hand it in online, be a bit indirect like that. But more of the obvious examples that I can think of is say your kid doesn't get invited to the play date, right? Your 10-year-old. Parents will go, it wasn't going to be good anyway. Or, oh, really? Do you want me to call the mum up? And then we're like organizing all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Again, the key word here is frequency. If you're doing this as a one-off because you truly feel like the invite fell out of the box, go for your life. But if you're continuously telling your kid, don't worry about the new phone, or hey, chin up, things could be worse, and all of these
Yeah.
kind of things, then we're teaching a child that when that hard feeling happens, we have to avoid it or get saved.
Mm.
And that's entitlement. So getting your kid to experience business class ticket, like mashallah, amazing, that is a special moment. Enjoy it with them
I love.
because your kid isn't going to grow up going, guys, I was so entitled, blah, blah, blah happened.
Yeah. I love that, like, building in those moments of, appreciation when those good things happen, but then letting them sit with the difficult feelings. Out of curiosity, I have a question because there was a video I saw recently by Dr. Becky, and it really touched on something. And she was just saying how, um, things have changed so much where there used to be a lot more opportunities for delayed gratification and some of those hard feelings that you talked about. Like, the idea of you'd have to, the specific example she used, you'd go to the video store to rent a movie, and it wasn't always they'd have the movie. And I was like, I, remember that in childhood, like begging my mom when that new movie came out and we went and it wasn't there. So now you had to wait a week. And, like so many other examples of that. Whereas now there is definitely, like, even when you're not setting up, like, just instantaneously, there's so many things that, kids don't have to wait for. And as I watched her video, I was actually thinking, like, what are the things that, like, my kid has to wait for? What are some of the things that, yeah, sure, maybe if they want a treat, like, they don't get it right away, but, like, there's very few natural life experiences happening, that don't. Yeah. Create that. So do you have any advice for parents or anything you use or recommend to perhaps build, like,
Mhm.
sabr and delayed
Yeah.
gratification?
Yeah. What do we have to wait on as adults? Because I can just click Amazon and I get my thing, especially in Dubai, in under 2 hours.
Wow. Okay, we're still at 24 hours in Canada, but that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. True story. And the guy will deliver it to me and wait and for me to check that if it's okay. And if it's not, he will take it back for me.
Wow.
So what are we doing? And I mean, this is an extreme example. Dubai is a very safe, secure, really luxurious place. I get that. But generally speaking, in a lot of, Western countries where things are developed, we don't have to really wait for anything.
Yeah.
We're not renting videos ourselves. We just press Prime or we just press Netflix.
Yeah.
let's take this burden off our children's shoulders. Again, let's not go to the extreme and be like, sure, bathe in anything you want to press and buy,
Yeah.
right? But let's just remove that burden off our shoulders and off their shoulders and accept it.
Mm.
There is no Blockbuster video store, guys. I'm an 80s girl. I totally understand. It just doesn't exist. It is not their fault. It is not our fault. Thank goodness we do not have to wait 1 week. Like,
Yeah.
why are we romanticizing it?
I love that.
That's my issue that I have.
Yeah.
And so this particular person you're talking about, and a lot of other people that I don't really, agree with their stance, do a lot of fear-based, right? I encourage parents to just accept the reality that we don't have video stores, that there are no ads, on the show that we're watching. And now, what can you do? Get resourceful. So, can you hide the remote so that they're not easily just pressing it? Can you give them a budget for what they are spending online? I'm talking about like older kids. What can you do? And frankly, why would you want to do something that is going to hurt your schedule?
Yeah.
I've got a lot of parents that are trying to live the 90s again, and they're like, no, no, Mesa, I'm not going to do more than like, I don't know, one thing a day, or I want them to run outside. And, there's a lot of policing happening because if you want your kid, and I'm all for it, by the way, you want your kid to go on a bicycle ride around the block, amazing. But guess what? That's going to eat into your time. If you have that, go for it. Because leaving a 5-year-old to ride around the block isn't going to happen, in these days. So pick your battle. Delayed gratification is one of those really big skills we were talking about earlier. It fits in with patience and sharing and gratefulness. There's so many also accounts online. I forgot what the word is, but this guy is actually practicing doing nothing for 1 hour. He's like this 40-year-old guy. He just sits on the couch. He time lapses himself. And he's just practicing the art of doing nothing. And this is a skill that even adults don't have. So how on earth are we expecting your 8-year-old to just sit there and do nothing and be bored? It's not accurate.
Yeah.
So help them. So here are some ideas. Help them. Set up your home. Let's talk about the little kids first. Set up your home in a way that helps your child succeed in whatever rationale you are wanting to do. So are you a no screens kind of person? Then set your home up for
Mm.
something to be as exciting as screens. Are you somebody who wants your kid to color in? Then don't pack all the coloring in stuff really high and whatever. Set it up in a way.
Well,
Proprioception is this word that's not spoken about often, and occupational therapists, bring it up all the time. And I'm here to bring light to it.
I've
So,
never
what is
heard of
this
it, so
fancy
I'm
word?
excited.
Yeah. So, proprioception is this idea that a child needs to feel. Um,
It's just my
mm,
camera. It's just focusing.
yeah, you're good. Okay. Uh, Proprioception is this idea that the child needs to feel their body to be able to be more regulated. So
Mm.
it sounds really far out, but let me give you some real life examples. I highly recommend if you have a child 10 and under that you have some spare cushions, some spare soft blankets, a beanbag, nothing too expensive. I know we all don't live in big homes. I don't. They're all placed in one corner, and let your child explore their bodies. Let them lunge off the beanbag onto the cushions. Let them feel what dragging things feel like.
Mm.
Let them push their capacity, challenge their bodies. Think about carrying 3-liter milk bottles rather than you just carrying it. Slide it, drag it, all of these things that bodies need to feel so that you feel accomplished.
Mm.
These are ideas that you can do to help a child, get off the screen, for example, but it's not even get off the screen. It's just to really connect with themselves.
I love that so much because, again, space is limited for so many people, and so making it very
Mhm.
natural for them to be able to explore, their physical strength and the curiosity. That's beautiful. I love the piece you said. It felt very affirming because I do have like a little cart where I put like their crayons and their workbooks, and so I like to just let them kind of do it. And my 3-year-old, she'll come and right after school, and she just goes and gets her little writing and crayon and she'll sit at the table,
Yeah.
and I love that, she does that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's really nice.
Grab a whiteboard off IKEA. I've got one with wheels. Again, appropriate if your kid, if you've got a toddler, they can draw on the walls, but incorporate things into your home that can help a child play. We can't have homes that are all sealed up. Oh, we're all into minimalism at the moment, right? But we can't do that because a kid's going to be like, oh, what am I meant to touch?
Yeah.
And so I worked with a client once who lived in a studio apartment, her husband, and two children under 3,
Wow.
one bedroom, and then everything was in the kitchen area in a European little apartment. We made it work. We made it work. She showed me, like, what her space looked like. We got, like, a little playpen thing. She's got 2 kids opposite in personalities. One likes to climb, one likes to draw. The climber would wreck the drawer. So we separated the 2. We created baskets that were appealing. I'm not talking Montessori here, although I love Montessori, but you don't have to go picture perfect, but create baskets that are easy for a kid to carry, that don't have broken bits in there, and, 20 colors rather than 53 half broken colors.
Yeah. I love that so much. I think, what's really empowering about a lot of what you've shared today, Mesa, is that alhamdulillah, there's so many opportunities to like build in naturally. And that, I mean, again, like as our Dean teaches us, right? The foundation is what you teach at home. So just the little coaching you did with empathy, like that was so powerful. And I hope parents are connecting with that because it's so easy to try to blame devices and blame culture and blame peers, but it's really like, what are you modeling at home? What kind of opportunities are you building at home to do, with your kids, and really the culture you're creating at home as well, mashallah. I loved this conversation. I'm probably gonna go back and go to some of the points because I know I want to take notes. Jazakallah khair for being here with me and sharing, mashallah, your experience. It's so hard to believe that you have a 20-year-old. Like I'm still processing that, mashallah. May Allah strengthen you in your work, and just the way you speak about parenting is so holistic and wholesome and so in line with what we do at Discovery. That's why when I knew we were launching our parenting course, The Art of Raising Muslims, I was like, there's someone I've been wanting to talk to and I want to bring her on. So I really appreciate you making the time despite the time difference.
Thank you so much. I love everything you do as well, and time flies. We've been talking for an hour.
Right?
Crazy.
SubhanAllah.
SubhanAllah.
So, Mesa, final point. If there's like one message you could share with a parents out there, and I know it's such a broad question, but imagine there's someone just
Mm.
listening to this and they're at that like place where they're just like, oh, I don't know what else I can do, or how do I turn things around? Like, what's one message you would give to a parent to just give them that upliftment?
Yeah. Somebody that's really like, I'm done, I'm struggling. I'd probably tell them, oh, wow, this is very emotional. I'd probably tell them that your kid just wants you to chill with them, to see them. Your kid doesn't want anything else. They just want you to be your sincere self.
No, no, that is so powerful.
Try your best to focus on you. See what's going on for you first.
Mm.
Work on your regulation first. That's what your kid will love to see.
Alhamdulillah. I
Mm.
love that. That is so powerful. Your child just wants you. Alhamdulillah.
Mhm.
Alhamdulillah. And so I want to remind everyone that this episode was brought to you by the Art of Raising Muslims. Go check it out. We have quite a few modules that touch on that self work as a parent and supporting you. Inshallah, go follow Mesa on her socials, benefit from her content and resources, and keep us all in your du'as. This work is definitely not easy, but it's so fulfilling. And, alhamdulillah, I'm so glad you got to be part of this live conversation. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Alaikum salam.